What's up, YouTube? Let's go for a ride. Alright guys, so basically what I wanted to do is just give you guys a little backstory on the car, the Challenger, what we're trying to do and how this all came to be.
Why don't you just go to the police station in a red clown suit and let everybody know what we're doing here?
So I've always had muscle cars, always been into street cars, and the Challenger came along and I really liked it. It's got a lot of features that are reminiscent of the classic muscle car, like the quarter window and the big body lines and the big white face gauges. So what happened was, last year, my girl and I went to Miami on vacation. We had to pick a car to rent while we were down there. So I'll try it. So we rented a Challenger.
Recalculating.
So then we came back from vacation and I decided I wanted one. So one of the dealerships I went to had an RT, a black one that I was looking at. And I actually saw this car in the parking lot and I walked right by it. I saw the scoop on the hood and the vinyl stripes on the side. I'm like, nah, it's too much. I walked right by it. And the car that I was looking at, the black one, was actually a year older. And they said, oh, well, we can't approve you for financing. If the car was a year newer, we could have approved you. I was like, well, that's whatever. I was like, well, you have a 2012 there. He goes, I'm on it. And he called me, I don't know, 45 minutes later. He's like, yep, you're all set. I never even test drove this car. Just bought it. Showed up at the dealership. She was detailed sitting in the showroom, on the showroom floor, and signed the paperwork and drove her home. So what we got is a 2012 Challenger RT, which is bone stock. Had 46,000 miles when I got it. Now I'm up to 63,490. So now I'm at, a year and a half later, I'm up to 62,000 miles. I'm putting way too many miles on this car. But being a 2012, there are pros and cons. So anything, I believe it's pre-2015, has an unlocked ECM, which means you do not have to take the ECM physically out of the car, mail it to a tuner, have them unlock it, mail it back to you. You don't do any of that. Because it's an M6, the manual 6-speed, you don't have the MDS. You don't have to get that MDS delete kit if you upgrade your cam. Another pro is that the M6 cars do come with a limited slip differential. Pretty sure this is 390 gears. Big issue with the M6 cars is probably wheel hop. The 245 stock tires are, you can literally boil these tires at will. So once you start putting power to them, yeah, you're definitely gonna need bigger rubber. A lot of people tell me, well, yeah, you bought the supercharger, it's a nice car, but why don't you buy a scat pack? So for the record, I love scat packs. I think they're awesome. Me personally, I just I didn't want to swing those payments and the insurance. It's a lot more money. I love the 392s. I think they're badass, but a 392 is pretty well optimized from the factory. You can put a little bit bigger of a cam in it, but whatever upgrades you do to a 392, you're not going to gain as much as you will with an RT. And here's the thing about the RTs. The 345 is a mass production motor. This is the same motor that comes in, obviously, the Challenger RTs, but also comes in the Charger RTs, the Ram 1500 pickups. I think the Durangos have them. It's a mass production motor. And what they did with the 345 is they put a very mild cam timing. If you want to wake up an RT, the first thing that I would do is throw a cam and headers on it. Ditch the restrictive cast iron exhaust manifolds and go for headers and a cam. There's cams out there that'll add, this is proven, 80 horsepower. If you're on a budget, you got some options. You don't have to get a custom grind cam. I think it's like $150. You just buy a 392 cam, put it in a 5.7 with a tune. You're gonna get some definite gains. If I find the video, I'll put a link in the description, but I think, if I remember right, this guy was doing a dyno tune. I don't remember if it was a Challenger or a Charger with a 5.7, and they put a 392 cam in it, and it made quite a bit of difference. I think that stock 392 cam, online you get it for like $150, something like that. So, my plan with this car, and the direction we're going in, is yes, I want to do a cam. Yes, I want to do headers, high flow cats, but I wanted a supercharger. Superchargers are, I've always been partial to them. Turbos are great, they're higher maintenance, some more expensive, it's a little bit more involved with the install, it's more components. A centrifugal spins with RPM. As long as you're building RPM, you're building boost. Whipples are great, they make more torque, but there's a trade-off. They kind of plateau around, I don't know, depending on the setup, probably between 4,500 and 5,500 RPMs. You're not building any more boost, and they're expensive. So I went with Torque Storm. I didn't get the complete turnkey kit like you could get with Pro Charger, because that kit is like $7,000. The money I saved on the Torque Storm kit, I probably saved, after it's all said and done, and I bought the injectors and the intercooler piping and the map, 3-bar map sensor, I probably saved $2,500, maybe $3,000. You do a lot with $3,000. That's cam, the cam install kit, phase limiter, head gaskets, new lifters. So the RTs are, like I said, a mass production motor, but they respond very well to modifications, upgraded cam, wake them right up. Difference is night and day. So we're going with a Torque Storm supercharger, a blower grind cam. The heads on a 345, you can port them. You're gonna see gains, but not. I think the only time you're gonna notice real gains on ported Eagle heads on a 5.7 is when you have added displacement or forced induction. Then you'll start benefiting from porting heads. These heads from the factory are pretty, I think they're good for 550, almost 600 horsepower. So at first I was looking at a set of Edelbrock RPM heads because they had bigger valves. I'm like, oh, more air, more power. not the case. The Edelbrock RPM heads are basically equivalent to the Apache heads on a Scat Pack. So I think that money, for how much they cost, is better served towards something like a cam or an exhaust or whatever. So the car had 46,000 miles when I got it. It's 2012. And what I paid for the car was a lot cheaper than I had expected. My payments are pretty cheap. My insurance with full coverage is like $107 a month. I could do that with Scat Pack, which gives me the ability to spend that extra money on parts. Cam, supercharger, tune, whatever. So the money I save, I think, at least in theory, in my head it sounds good anyway, but the money I save and put towards the other parts to make more power with the car, I'm ahead of the game. I'm not paying that extra money a month in a payment, paying those extra insurance premiums, and then trying to throw parts at it and spend more money. The RT is, at least this car, very fun to drive. So I think for any of you guys out there that have an RT, don't get discouraged, because it's kind of a cliche at this point. You ask a question on social media and the first response you get, "Why don't you just buy a Scat Pack?" Don't get me wrong, I love Scat Packs. I don't want the payments, I don't want the insurance. And my car responds more to upgrades than a 392. 392s are pretty much optimized from the factory. Fun as hell to drive, but I'm on a budget, so I don't want to spend that kind of money on a payment and insurance. So phase 2 would consist of upgrading the bottom end. Obviously, I'm not just going to put a stock 345 cubic inch bottom end in it. I'm going to go with a stroker kit. I think a 397 kit is pretty popular. And I think, what do we have here? Is that a Hellcat? What's up, buddy? Nice. Mopar fam. So, I think the stroker kit with the added displacement is really going to take advantage of that extra air we're pushing into it. And then obviously once we go with the stroker kit, we can change the pulley and turn up the boost. Phase 3.
That's classified.
It's what?
It's classified. I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
The other thing I'm looking at right now is an intake. I'm kind of partial to that Highly Sniper EFI intake. I've heard kind of horror stories about it, like the gaskets don't seal and you gotta run different gaskets, which is fine. I know some guys had to put adapters on their injectors to reach the fuel rail because it was too short. Maybe by now Holly's figured that out, I don't know. I know a lot of people get into the cold air intakes, pedal commanders. Personally, I'm not wasting my time on a cold air intake because I'm going forced induction anyway, but I really don't think your gains are very minimal. Pedal commander, it doesn't make your car any faster, it doesn't add horsepower, it just changes the driving characteristics of the car. Basically the response time and the throttle pedal. There's no cable going from the throttle pedal to a carburetor, old school. It's what they call fly-by-wire, it's all electronic. There is a delay in it. There's also a delay in the clutch. You can buy a clutch delay delete kit. They make a skip shift eliminator kit. Haven't really looked into that. But those are things that are, they don't add horsepower, they just change the characteristics of driving the car. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. But she is starting to get that notorious Hemi tick on the passenger side. Hasn't gone away, it's getting louder. At first, when I got the supercharger, I was just going to do that in the exhaust with the tune. And I'm like, you know what? It'd be stupid to me to do all that work and not do the cam while I'm under the hood. It's going to make a huge difference power-wise, and I need new cam and lifters. So what I want to do is, as we progress through this journey, I'm going to show you guys what we're doing to the car, the parts that we used. Obviously, you're going to know what our results are. And you guys got any questions, feel free to ask, comment, like, subscribe.
Quiet. Mike Tyson? This is my favorite part coming up right now. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. You close, my guy. Hold on.